My name is Daniel Leary, and I'm an 11th grader at Canyon High School, and I am an individual that is on the autism spectrum.
Can you tell me some information about autism?
Autism is usually an invisible disability which occurs in the brain, and what it does is it alters how the brain functions or processes certain things, usually social interaction. I have this condition that is referred to as Asperger's syndrome, and as I previously said, it is a social disability in which sometimes communication with others is hard, or there might be some things in the brain that are thought differently than the norm that we have come to establish. It affects me in a way of how I look upon people, and it also makes me question or overthink certain things.
Have you ever been teased or bullied for your invisible disability?
Yes. In elementary school, before I was diagnosed with autism, which was in 5th grade, I had the struggle still, because when you have autism, you're born with it, therefore it doesn't leave and you can't really change it. You can deal with it, but you can't just get rid of it. And so, given that I deal with social situations in a different fashion than most other students or children or individuals, they would see me as some sort of different kind of person, or like a strange person, and as some people would know, that people are afraid of the unknown, and therefore they're really scared of it, or they try and make it seem smaller than it is, and one way of doing that is teasing people, which I think goes against morals in a certain way, but people are people and they do what they find comfort.
Can you share some of your bullying experiences?
Bullying has taken place in the elementary school years during my life here, and that would be preschool, kindergarten, and grades 1 through 6, so give or take about 8 different grades. What would it be was these kids would, they would have their own interests, as people often do, and they have their own groups, as they often do. And I wanted to be in one of those groups, to be accepted in a social setting and to have friends like everybody else has, because people usually have this way of thinking where if I'm in something, I am something. So I tried getting into, kids would play soccer on the field, and I would try to play soccer with them, but then children would pick you last because you just showed up and you're not somebody to these people. And it was really not a nice experience, because who really likes being picked last usually? And some people see it as an advantage. I see it as a way of social ranking. Sometimes I would try and be in a certain group, like in class with children, as in we would be given these projects, group projects, and we all know how people really love group projects. And they would not want me in their group because they didn't know me, or they don't know that I have this condition that I still have now. And it would lead to exclusion. And exclusion is the whole main focus of the bullying, because whether it would be in a class or out in the field or during any break or during activity at all, it seemed that I'm on my own, in my own place, while these children are in this class or on this playground, and it's just something that is not a pleasure to deal with.
What advice do you have to give to anyone who's ever been bullied?
My advice would be to analyze the person that is bullying you and see what their traits are, and try and make not an assumption but a guess, because with an assumption you usually just skip the interpretations and different kinds of things that will make you consider changing what you think. So if you only guess, you still have time for revision, or you may feel like, oh, maybe he's not this way, maybe this goes on with this kid. And you need to put yourself in their shoes, because you don't know why they're bullying in the first place, but then if you try and figure it out or try and make an observation, you might find more understanding within their mind, which is something that we need to have.
Have you ever been bullied at Canyon High School?
I can recall one time where that did occur, and it was in one of my 9th grade classes, so 2 years ago, I was in the middle of typing on a laptop, probably a Chromebook or something. It was an essay for a class, and it was about a book, so it was probably English. I sat near the teacher's desk in the row that was closest to it that wasn't shorter. There was maybe a few rows, and I was in the closest one to the desk, as I've said. So there was a student in front of me who I would say had the personality of someone who was less caring than I was about their academics and more geared toward having a social figure or having a pleasing time at school, whether that would be on their phone or with their friends or whatever group they're in. And there was a student in the row to my left, I think 2 or 3 seats behind my position, who was friends with this other student that was in front of me. And they were trying to exchange something, like talk across the room or across the rows. And the person in the back had a bag of food or something. And it was a small thing, so it wasn't anything that would be damaging. So they were trying to deliver it to their friend without getting up because I guess they were too lazy that day or they didn't want to use their legs to walk. And they threw it to that child. But since I'm behind that child, it hit me, and then I turn around without hesitation, and then I look. And then they say sorry in a really false kind of way. You wouldn't accept it as an apology. If I wouldn't, why would you? And then the girl, it was a girl in front of me, was laughing too. Although I was looking behind them, they were laughing, and I didn't hear them, but I know that they did laugh because hours after this incident, after school of course, I looked on Twitter. So I was browsing one of the individual's Twitter feeds, the person who threw the food, to be more specific, and I saw that they were putting up like tweets about me, not personally with my name in them, but it was something along the lines of, we threw food at this guy and he acted like we threw a bomb at him or something. That was one of them. And another one was a picture of the 2 students being reprimanded by my teacher, which I did not like that at all either because she had nothing to do with the incident at all. It was just in her classroom, but that doesn't translate to the individual who runs the classroom at all.
Is there anything else you would like your peers to know about you personally or about your disability?
Yes. Usually in class I'm really quiet because I usually absorb what the environment is around me and how I can use it, or I make a judgment about the environment or the students that shape the environment. And I find it that it's really easy to do so given my condition. That's just the way I think. My perception of things is usually black and white, not in a literal sense of vision, but in a way where I can look at a situation and I can see it's either yes or no, right or wrong, or vice versa, or opposite and opposite. And sometimes it gives me trouble with certain things, such as seeing a glass as half full or half empty. I'm usually the one that sees it as half empty. I think diversity in the world is something that we need, but we usually take it in a wrong way. Diversity is something that usually unites people. I'm in a Yes I Can class at this school, and we have many different people. We have different individuals that are different heights, different sizes, different ethnicities, different in usual regards to an individual's personality. And we accept them because they're different, and we can usually grow closer to each other with such things. But some people just use diversity as a means to grow further apart, which is something that I don't think we should have to do.
Why do you feel that leadership and Yes I Can is so vital to you and to Canyon High School as a whole?
I think these 2 groups or societies, I see them more as societies because because of their importance. To me, they are places where you can go if you need to find comfort or understanding in a certain thing. I also think both groups exercise a way of self-respect and respect for others in different ways. And yes, I can. We cannot use a certain word that begins with the letter R, and I have actually grown to abide by this, and I appreciate having to abide by this because when people use that word, they sometimes use it as an adjective for something that has nothing to do with such magnitude, or they take it out of context and use it as an insult. And I look at my disability and I don't see it as insulting at all. And in leadership, it's a group that has, it has connected me to more people than I could have imagined, such as, my friends in Yes I Can and other leaders that I see as role models or really, really great people. Both these classes give me something that is really important to people, which is opportunity. And to me, opportunity is, having the ability or having the readiness in order to become a more different person or an improved version of yourself, which is something that I like to have every day. Opportunity is the key to opening gates, and the gates of opportunity are the boundaries that we can open to ourselves to make ourselves the best people that we can be in whatever we are given.